In the northern province, the bright red fruits, harvested under the summer sun, were sold in bulk to eager Chinese buyers just across the border. The mood among farmers has changed. With fewer Chinese buyers and falling prices, many Vietnamese lychee farmers now fear significant income loss.
Nhà nào cũng được mùa, nó không ít nào nào cũng được mùa. Trung Quốc thì lý do là nó mua phải đẹp thì mua thì bao giờ cũng được giá hơn. Thì Trung Quốc không mua phải xấu, vải xấu thì đi vào các nông thôn khu vực mình mua thôi, chứ còn bây giờ sản buôn bán hàng từ Trung Quốc thì bao giờ nó dám cái giá nó cao hơn là lý do nó mua vải đẹp, mã đẹp, vải đẹp, quả to. Nói chung là còn bây giờ là nhà nào có vải đẹp thì bán nó vẫn được giá.
China has long been Vietnam's largest lychee export market, but recent years have seen a dramatic decline in orders. In the first fruit, which ripens quickly and has a short shelf life.
Nay thì được mùa hơn so với mọi năm, được gấp nhiều lần ấy, nhưng mà giá nó cũng không được như năm ngoái, nó chỉ tầm vải đẹp này chỉ tầm 10 mới nhỉnh.
Imports, tighter border controls, changes in import regulations, economic uncertainty, and possibly a shift in Chinese consumer preferences toward local or alternative fruits. For small Vietnamese farmers who relied heavily on this cross-border trade, the impact has been immediate and painful.
Cây vải này thì là bác đã trồng được 23 năm, nhưng mà về thu nhập thì là nó không ổn, thì là bác ngoài ra là trồng thêm cây đào để tăng thu nhập chính là cây đào, còn các cây mít, cây trái chăng hoa quả này là chỉ ăn là phục vụ gia đình.
For many families in lychee growing regions, the fruit is their main source of annual income. The current crisis is not just an economic concern, but a social one, affecting education, healthcare access, and quality of life in rural areas. Some farmers have even considered cutting down their lychee trees or switching to other crops if the situation does not improve.
Cũng rất muốn là thí dụ như là có, nếu mà có mối mà để xuất khẩu được sang một là Mỹ, hai là Trung Quốc, có là cái tốt đấy, nhưng mà ví dụ như ở đây là mình vẫn chưa có những cái đấy để đi, chưa có mối để đi ấy đấy, thế nên là cũng chỉ trồng hạn chế ít, bởi vì trồng nhiều cũng không thể xuất khẩu. Có Trung Quốc thì kể cả cái ngành trồng trọt của mình sẽ không phát triển lắm, bởi vì nguyên trong nước mình thì nó quá nhiều, nên là không thể là tiêu thụ hết. Nếu không xuất khẩu được, một là Mỹ, hai là Trung Quốc thì không thể tiêu thụ hết được.
Despite the challenges, there is hope. The Vietnamese government and local cooperatives have begun to take steps to diversify export markets. Several lychee producers are now certified under Global Gap or Viet Gap, opening the door to more premium international buyers. Authorities are also promoting value-added products such as dried lychees, juices, cold chain logistics, trade fairs, and international promotions is growing.
Malaysia, a nation of promise and progress, proudly steps into the ASEAN Chairmanship in 2025. A decade ago, we held the chair as the ASEAN community was born in Kuala Lumpur. And now, Malaysia is once again ready to drive progress and empower the people of Southeast Asia. ASEAN is now more than an association of nations. It is a symphony of shared dreams, a chorus of hopes intertwined. It breathes with the rhythm of unity, with a vision that lights the path to a brighter tomorrow. Together we have forged a path towards peace, stability, and prosperity. Through the trials and triumphs, ASEAN has grown even stronger. Today, we stand as an economic powerhouse, poised to become the world's fourth largest economy. Our resilience is unshakable, our resolve unwavering. In 2025, we will forge ahead, bold, confident, and unyielding. This is ASEAN's moment to shine. As chair, Malaysia will embrace the future with a clear vision. We will champion inclusivity, creating a region where every voice soars and no one is left behind. We will drive sustainability in all we do, securing the long-term well-being of our people. Together, we will build a future where everyone can thrive.
ASEAN is a community of nations, of shared dreams, an excellent example of how neighbors can sit down and work together for the betterment of our people.
In 2025, under the guiding light of the ASEAN Community Vision 2045, a new chapter will begin. This marks the start of a 20-year journey, a journey where we rise not as separate nations, but as one. One community bound by progress, peace, and purpose. One vision driven by the promise of a greater future for generations to come. Together, we will shape a future of shared peace, stability, and prosperity where our unity drives us forward and our legacy endures. Welcome to where it all begins anew.
Selamat datang. Welcome to Malaysia.
So keep it locked in right here on the show. A very interesting topic today. And while we'll be talking to our guest in the studio, Professor Dr. Tan Mo Pin, who is the head of geriatric, the medicine unit from University Malaya Medical Center. And while living with dementia, this is a very important topic, as I said earlier on. And a very interesting one, especially for those of you who probably might know somebody who is having these problems. And well, the good professor, our guest in the studio, will be at least explaining to us a little bit more on our topic for today. Now, just to let you know that dementia is or happens to be a general term for loss of memory, language, problem solving, and other thinking abilities that are severe enough to, well, get into our lives or interfere in our daily life. Now, Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia. So getting into our questions, but just before that, we would like to get to know our guest in the studios, Professor Dr. Tan Mo Pin. And a very good morning to you, Professor. Professor, could you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and, well, probably a little bit of what you do as a profession?
Yes. Good morning, Gilbert. And thank you very much for having me on the show.
You're
yes.
welcome.
So geriatric medicine sounds like a mouthful.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what it is, but some people are starting to consider geriatric as a derogatory term.
Okay.
But actually, we are basically looking after older adults. So older we tend to use an age cutoff,
Okay.
but actually it really depends on biologically how fast you have how far you have aged. But usually about 65 is what we say you're old. And older people tend to have a tendency to accumulate medical problems,
Okay.
and then they take many medications, and so when they come to hospital, they often have a lot of side effect to their medications, and the presentation tends to be very non-specific, and therefore the geriatrician has to actually be able to be more of a detective, a diagnostician, and then management can be tricky because they've lost the ability to care for themselves. So you need to do rehabilitation and also plan their discharge home such that any needs of theirs is properly met, so that they don't suffer any long-term, as little long-term negative effects as possible.
Okay.
It's a very complex subspecialty.
And it's well, I should also say that many, as you say, when they age, right?
Yes, yes.
And this is something which is very common.
Yes, that's
So
right.
that's overall on how common it is actually, Professor, dementia.
Dementia.
Yeah.
Yes, so dementia, according to our National Health and Mobility Survey, which was done in 2018, 1 in 12 people over the age of 60 have dementia.
Okay.
And we do know that people with dementia, from the time the disease has occurred, can live for 8 to 10 years. So there are a lot of people with dementia hanging around in the society. And when they have dementia, they're more likely to need care, hospital care, and also care in care homes. So when we talk about hospitals, we've done a survey in the University Malaya Medical Center. 1 in 4 people over the age of 65 who come into hospital actually have memory problems. We call it cognitive issues.
Okay.
And when we look at the over 80s, we're talking about 1 in 2. So more people with who are over 80 who come to hospital have problems with their memory compared to those who haven't.
Okay.
So and when we look at care homes, long-term care, nearly all residents in a long-term care facility in a nursing home will have some degree of memory issues.
Okay. When you're talking about this one here, it's not in our question. I like to get off my sheets sometimes.
So do I.
Doctor, well, mom takes this. Well, it's like a vitamin, all right? To enhance cognitivity,
Yes.
or something like memory, right?
Yes, yes.
Can things like this help, doctor?
Okay, it really depends. Yeah,
To prevent.
Yes, it really depends. So generally off-the-shelf supplements, we know that really there's very little evidence that they will reduce the risk of dementia.
Okay.
What we really know is the way you live, your lifestyle. And we know from the recent Lancet Commission report that 45% of risk factors for dementia are potentially modifiable. And most of these risk factors occur at midlife, so between the 40 to 60s. So a lot of us who are living out there before the age of 60 actually need to watch what we do. So there's only one risk factor that is still left in the group that says late life risk factor over 60, and that's social isolation. The rest of the risk factors are majority of them are what you do, how you behave in your midlife. So and those involve risk factors such as high blood pressure, diabetes, sedentary lifestyle, smoking. So those are common risk factors that we know also lead to a lot of chronic diseases, and they also lead to an increased risk of dementia. So it's how we behave in midlife. And so all those supplements, whether they do any good or not, I can't say no. But even if they do, it's not going to be it's not going to be the one that really reduces your risks.
Okay, because if as what you mentioned, Professor, this is things that how you live your midlife.
Yes, that's right.
Very important.
Very
so it's not just taking those supplements to.
Yes. And what we say it's a life course approach, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you risk factors such as educational risk factors. So for childhood, you really need to look at education, prevention of head injuries. I think there's been a lot of things in the news about how these American footballers have an increased risk of dementia, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So what we do see is if someone has a motor vehicle accident in early life, that will really increase the risk of developing dementia in late life.
Wow. Okay, that's surprising. It's not just something that we pick up just because we're getting old or we're aging, but it's also, as
Yes.
what you said, lifestyle and also damages that has happened
Yes,
in
that's
the
right.
earlier stages.
Yes.
All right. How does actually dementia happen, Professor?
Okay, so the dementia is actually a problem with the brain. And so when we actually dissect the brain of someone who has died of dementia, we will find that there are these plaques called amyloid plaques.
Okay.
And in the microscope, you also see neurofibrillary tangles. So those are the pathological issues that happens.
Okay.
But we won't be able to know until we actually dissect that brain after the patient have died. So what we do know when we notice from day-to-day life is that we do know now that even because we know that dementia, you can only diagnose it when they've lost the ability to look after themselves on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
But even years before this happens, we might notice some behavioral issues. The person might start becoming more impulsive, more exaggeration of their idiosyncratic behavior. So previously, maybe they were already an anxious person, but they are much more anxious nowadays. Previously they were a bit of an angry person, now they can't control their temper. The lid has seemed to have been lifted off, and then over time they start becoming forgetful. So putting car keys somewhere and then not being able to find them, the famous one is you park your car somewhere and then cannot find it in the car park.
Okay.
Yeah, well, this happens to all of us at times.
Yeah.
The person who actually is starting to develop dementia, we call it pre-dementia, will actually experience this regularly. Yeah,
Okay.
And then when dementia occurs, usually the initial presentation is the memory issues. So they stop being able to remember things. So they're managing finances is a problem, and kind of more high level activities of daily living are lost. So finances, going shopping, doing the housework, doing the laundry, so those are what you call instrumental activities of daily living.
Professor, but sorry to interrupt. There are some people who probably might just get this mistaken, being absent-minded, being forgetful,
Yes.
and having Alzheimer's or dementia. So it's way off two different things, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fun when we talk about these things. It's like, oh no, I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Have I got dementia? We do know that there are a lot of conditions that will actually mimic dementia. So we call it pseudo-dementia. And this happens when, let's say, you're very unwell. And you can have what we call a delirium. Okay. So that will seems like it's dementia, but when you recover from your illness, your memory comes back. Okay. So then it's not dementia. And then there is also like depression. So you're feeling very depressed, and your mentation is very slow. Then it would appear like you have dementia, but if we are able to treat the depression, then the memory comes back. So those are we call pseudo dementia. But there's also the absent-minded fellas. Yeah. So there are people who have been absent-minded all their lives. You cannot blame dementia. Yes.
So that's the one I've always wanted to know. Don't get it complicated or confused. Because I know one or two of my friends who are in their midlife, or ever since I knew them from school, just forgetful.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he did bring up this particular subject. Hey, dude, am I one of them who is getting into these stages?
Yes.
So I just did not know how to explain that to him.
It has to be something that was not like that before, but has suddenly become a problem. Or previously it was a bit like that, but it's more exaggerated now.
Okay, so those are the warning symptoms or
Yes.
those warning signs,
Yes,
and
yes.
probably should have your heads up on that. The difference between dementia and Alzheimer's, Professor?
Okay, so Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. And we
Okay.
always know Alzheimer's as the most common cause of dementia. So the figures are about 6 out of 10 cases of dementia will be due to Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
But there are lots of other causes of dementia. So dementia is not really a single disease. But we tend to use it interchangeably. And a lot of the research we've done for treatment of dementia will be targeting Alzheimer's because it is still the most common cause of dementia.
Right, there you go. I'm very sure there's questions that probably our listeners will have. We have our producers behind the screens. So if you'd like to talk to us, well, we are on Facebook page, which is Tracks FM, and on other social medias, we are on TikTok, we are on Facebook. So talk to us, ask us any questions. Probably you'd like to say hello to our professor right here. You can do so. We are live right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a short song break. So stay tuned. And our topic for today, living with dementia. Now, the good professor did explain to us the differences between Alzheimer's and dementia, and of course, the basic fundamental points that we need to know what is dementia all about. Now, we had a very interesting topic also off air together with our professor here, and